Introducing National Streaming Sports, live and on-demand sports talk programming that you can access 24/7. For the premier sports talk experience, tap into our Roku channel. Start your mornings with Mac and Jack covering all the weekend sports action. Then pour a cup and enjoy all the sports you can drink on the Coffee and Sports podcast. At midday, talk sports from east to west on the Coast to Coast podcast. Followed at night by some hot girl talk with Prim and Proper Sports featuring SONJA Pearson. Talk boxing on the Gloved Fist. Yankee fans tune in for Start Spreading the News. And there's more on the College Sports Huddle and Sports Scope with Robert Butler. There are 20 podcasts in all and 70 weekly shows giving us a 3.4-star viewer rating. To find us on Roku TV, search for National Streaming Sports on the Roku search bar. Click on the logo and you're in. National Streaming Sports, live and on-demand sports talk for America.
Yeah, yo, it's game time, ain't no messing around. Huddle Sports Network, the best in town. From NFL rumors to the latest trends, we got all your sports, just tune in, my friends. Catch us on Roku, Fire Stick, take your pick. Facebook, YouTube, where the action's slick. Daily shows that drop like a bomb. From 10 to 11, it's Ken and Ken, stay calm. Huddle up, catch the vibe, feel the rush. Get your news, get your fills in the clutch. Over 27 podcasts, we breaking it down. Join the team, Huddle Sports, wear the crown. Live every weekday, it's how we roll. Lions Talk with Jeremy B, we taking a stroll. From 11 to 12, don't miss a beat. We break down the game, make the info sweet. The Daily Huddle Podcast, noon to 1. CST Zone, we're just having fun. Toss your doubts, we bring the facts. Tune into the Huddle.
And we are back. Good morning and welcome to the Sunday Morning Sports Show. I hope everyone's doing great. I'm joined by Keith Engel, Jack Hirsch, James Martin, and B. Strilla. Good morning, gentlemen. Hope everyone's doing well on this final Sunday of June 2020.
Really? Good morning. Sunday. Good morning.
Good morning. All right, guys. So going to be doing a little dynamic shifts here, but the shows will remain the same. Of course, you can follow us on all our social media platforms, and you can follow us on Huddle Sports Network as far as Elite Sports Entertainment Network as well. And of course, all of our shows are in honor of our creator and friend, John Mac McGrath. All right, guys, got big stories breaking today as well. And of course, before you go further, make sure you support Keith on TGI Sports Talk, send him those stars. Keith down to about 58 days, I think, before retirement. So he's going to need those stars really soon. Top of the news here, guys. The Thibodeau replacement continues in New York. Keith will be hopping off here in about 27 minutes. So I'm going to get his take here because now Dawn Staley's name has been tossed in the hat as far as coaching considerations. I literally had to fact check with that when I saw that. I was like,
did as well.
But then it was true. It was true. So Dawn Staley, of course, the University of South Carolina Lady Gamecocks coach, in the hat for consideration of New York Knicks head coach Keith.
This gets look, I don't want to make light of Dawn Staley, and that's what it's going to sound like probably here and on my own show here in a little bit, and I'll have letters and people picking in my house again. But Dawn Staley's a great college basketball coach. I won't even say women's college basketball coach. She's a great college basketball coach. These things don't normally work out with men coming to the NBA from college. There's been instances where there have, but as a rule, it doesn't work out. And this is there's such a spotlight, especially on a team like the Knicks. We talked about where the teams ranked. Jack and I were talking about it on the Friday show. With the spotlight on the Knicks, I don't know how bringing a top women's basketball coach who's never been an assistant in the NBA or anything. There's some women assistants that I think eventually will ascend to that job. But This is just, to me, a reach of epic proportions and would be a colossal mistake, I think, if Knicks did this. No, and that's no offense to Dawn Staley. I think she's a great coach and should probably stay where she is. But who knows? In New York, anything could happen. I'm not saying this won't happen. I'm just saying I don't think it'd be a good idea.
You guys agree with that?
Think of how much fun we would have with it. Think of how much fun. It's always bothered me, at least it bothered me in the past, when the WNBA predominantly had male coaches. There was some sort of bias there. That's kind of corrected itself over time. But, Dawn Staley knows the game. I mean, the NBA is a quicker paced game, obviously, and it's a bit different from the WNBA, but you have to assume she knows the game well enough. And as far as the respect factor goes with males respecting a woman, I mean, come on. I mean, these players have had mothers who've been, kind of father figures as well in some cases. I mean, and she's a strong enough personality. But the situation she'd be put in, that would concern me, because the Knicks are expected to win now.
Exactly.
They're expected to be a championship contender right now. And in a sense, she'd be a pioneer. And imagine it didn't work out. I mean, what would it mean for women coaches all over if that were the case?
If this happened in Sacramento or OKC or something, OKC before they were winning, I mean, someplace a little bit in less of a limelight, and less expectations, as you said, Jack. I agree. Go ahead, James. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I would say it says a lot for her to put her name in the hat. It just says she's really confident in her abilities. She's a hard-nosed coach, so I wouldn't doubt that she would be able to command the attention of a group of men. That being said, I'm a numbers person. I'm always a numbers person, Pete. And you mentioned not many have come transfer. You're right. I can give two names that have transferred. Rick Pitino was a great college coach and a great NBA basketball coach, and also Larry Brown. He's won championships on both ends. So the numbers can still be there. I'm just thinking that, and to be honest with you, I think she's better than the two candidates that are already in the mix.
There's I might rather have her than Mike Brown, I guess. I don't know.
No one stopped and thought a moment of the Knicks coaching search. Let's say hypothetically they could get Jason Kidd. What the heck has Jason Kidd done as a coach? He's been only he's been okay at best. It's not a knockout hire. He's won one championship as a player, even though he had a couple of phenomenal years as a player with the Nets taking him to the finals. But what's he done as a coach? If I'm the Dallas Mavericks, I say, give me Mitch Robinson and Josh Hart, and you can have Jason Kidd. I mean, what is such a great hire about Jason Kidd that everyone's getting all hyped up? And why would Jason Kidd want to come to the Knicks? If any of you had a choice, let me ask you, to be the coach of the Mavs or to be the coach of the Knicks, which job would you take? I would take the job. I'd want the Mavs job.
You mean right today? Based on what's happening today, you're saying, right? Overall, I'd want to be the Knicks coach. But if we're talking about today and the expectations that, again, whatever coach comes in here, it doesn't matter. The expectations are going to be through the roof. I might want to stay a little under the radar in Dallas with the best player coming into this league this coming year and ready to play, most likely. So, and
this all leads to the point that Tibbs shouldn't have been fired, because there's nobody available that can really be either a lateral move or a better move that would push him forward into the or catapult him in potential NBA final championship. Right.
I hear my voice coming out of James' mouth now.
I think there's a little bit of hypocrisy too, because had the Knicks lost to the Pistons, there was talk beforehand that Tibbs would be gone if they didn't win that series. That had they lost to the Pistons, we have heard all these complaints about Tibbs getting fired. Imagine the Knicks lost to the Pistons and they didn't fire Tibbs. That's all we'd be hearing. Oh, they should have moved on from Tibbs or changes in order. it's a very thin line in these coaching hires and firings.
I'd like to say I wouldn't. I would still have the same opinion, but I don't know. I really don't. It's hard for me. I'm not a guy of what if this happened. I know what I would do, because I don't think people actually know what they would do in different situations than the one you've actually lived through. But I do think there would be more certainly not the backlash that we've had here, because again, just take Jason Kidd. He's gone one step further than Tibbs. That's it. Once with one of the greatest players in the NBA. So I'm not giving up compensation for Jason Kidd. I'm telling you right now.
Yeah, I mean, at first, this is one of those things go along to get along, because at first everybody was kind of like, oh my goodness, they fired Tibbs, and he took them so far into the playoffs, and then they didn't have a coaching preference in the back. And they were like, okay, this clearly was out of the blue, because who fires someone, like Keith said, of such a very basically in your face team? I don't know how else to put it. And they don't have a plan B. And Dawn Staley actually, they reached out to her. And so that either shows two things. Either they are truly desperate, not in a negative way, because Dawn is an amazing coach, but they are truly desperate to hurry and get someone there of a higher caliber. And they did not plan for this. And it's still going to be desperation, because we've never had a female in an NBA as a head coach. And so that would be very major to come in, like one of you guys mentioned, coming to OKC or somewhere else. I mean, even though OKC is the champions, they still are not New York. They still are not that franchise that has such a higher caliber fan base and everything that goes along with that. Strilla, I know you are a Dawn Staley fan, and I really don't think Dawn is going to accept the job, even if she were offered it. She has a very loyal connection to those ladies in South Carolina. She's cultivated that whole school's ladies division, and she's very invested in her ladies, even when they go into the WNBA. And so, Strilla, what are your thoughts on this whole thing with I mean, of course, she's the better of the candidates, especially with Mike Brown. But what are your thoughts on that?
Well, as an overall, I agree with Keith. I mean, and I agree with all of you, actually, because she is going to be the first woman head coach in the NBA, which is going to be awkward enough. And on top of that, she's doing a very good job in the college ranks. And like Keith said, a lot of college folks that come out of college to teach professional, that go into professional as a coach, they're not, they don't usually last too long. Very few instances where they do succeed. Personally, however, I would be a New York Knicks fan as long as she's a coach.
Well, maybe it's worth it then to convert Pistrilla to Knicks.
Let me say, go ahead. Let me say that Dawn, if anybody can be a pioneer in this situation, she will be the most. Somebody's got some sense in there in the New York organization a little bit. If anybody can be a pioneer. And I'm not going to say that they're going to get to the championship next year if she were to accept the job. But I have to disagree with Sonja. I think that she would accept it because of what else can she do at the college level? She's done it. They got a statue of her. She can go at the next level and move forward. And it'll be tough. I mean, it'll probably be tough for Keith because obviously I get where his standpoint is. You want to be able to say that you got somebody in there that was better than Tibbs, that's going to take you to the next level. But I don't know. I think Dawn, she has a possibility. And again, being a pioneer, it'd be great, I think, for everything. I mean, I don't know.
If she wins,
what do you think?
Fan, by the way. If she wins, I'd be her biggest fan. So she's also just signed a new contract, so you got to pay her. I mean, I don't know what Tibbs was making a year. She's making $5 million a year at South Carolina. So she's not. And there's conflicting reports too. I don't know whether I've seen that they put her on the list and have not reached out. I've seen that they have reached out. No response about what she's thinking about this, whether she's interested in any way, shape, or form. So the next few days will be interesting. And Knicks can't go much longer without a coach. I mean, we got summer league play starting, and I think you need a head coach to do a lot of this evaluation. It needs to happen in the next few months. So it's time.
Can you imagine the Knicks win an NBA championship with Dawn Staley, the way it would change the game? We'd be talking about other women being head coaches. I mean, it would turn things upside down, like the Buzz over 50 years. They couldn't win it with a man, as the head coach. And a woman came in her first year. It would make an absolute legend. And if you have a chance to she's a legend already, within women's, sports. But it's about making a splash at this point. Think of all the people the Knicks have hired, and there's one word: boring.
It wasn't
and
exciting.
all of a sudden you hear Dawn Staley. Unless you could get a Rick Pitino to leave St. John's, that would create a splash. A Dan Hurley, that would create a splash. But those guys aren't going to leave college. And if Dawn Staley came over to the Knicks, it would make the Knicks must-view watching. All of a sudden, any Knick game, everyone's going to want to tune in, not just for the players, but to see her pacing the sideline. It would be great stuff.
By the way, if she won a championship, like you mentioned, Jack, I think that would be it might be the biggest sports story of the 21st century if she won a championship in New York.
Absolutely.
I would have to say, though, you're avoiding the elephant in the room. It's about the gender. Also, it's about the fact that these players coming out in this century in this last couple of decades are full of themselves. And then you have, and that's part of the male ego and point. I'm not saying Dawn couldn't handle that, but it is unfortunately, we still have it as a man's driven world. And you just get one of them crazy players that are making all that money in professional basketball, and he's going to say the wrong thing to her. You know what I'm saying? So you got to look at that aspect too. That's shaky ground right there.
Good morning to Richard and Rick. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Keith.
That's okay. I'm not avoiding that elephant. Believe me, I know that's a big part of this issue, right? And I don't know that players would that easily adapt to a woman head coach, not at this level. I mean, we haven't even seen it on the college level. A woman coaching a major, at least not a major college program. So again, it's going to happen, and I'm all for it happening, right? I just don't think this is the right situation for it. That's all.
The thing about it is that it also speaks to the candidates that they have already spoken with. I mean, they've already spoken or will be speaking with James Borrego, the former Charlotte Hornets head coach and the New Orleans Pelicans assistant coach. He's a strong candidate, and they're actually looking at him as one of their favorites. And he's going to be, he interviewed yesterday or sometime this weekend. Mm-hmm. But then also Taylor Jenkins, the recently fired Grizzlies coach, he's interviewed as well. He was a candidate. And they're thinking about, they're going to be having another round of interviews this week. And of course, you guys talked about Mike Brown, the veteran NBA coach from the Kings, but you guys, have said you don't really like him. But let's not forget about Micah Nori as well, the Minnesota Timberwolves assistant coach. He's also in consideration for that. But I think maybe they're just, by putting Dawn in there, I don't know if the Knicks were serious or just trying to shake up the interest in the coaching position. And let's be clear, though. I know gender is a big thing, but I really have full confidence in Dawn handling herself if she were put into that position. Dawn is from Philly. She's from that whole little area. New York and Philly is all kind of affiliated, just 2 hours, an hour drive apart on 95. So she's a hard nose. You're not going to be bringing in a rose petal at that position if you bring her in. If she was offered the job and doesn't take it, it comes down to her loyalty. not a dollar amount, but her loyalty to the University of South Carolina and what she's invested in those ladies.
You know, there's this old school mentality that men aren't going to listen to a woman coach. It's completely untrue. Look at all facets of life in the workplace. Male teachers have women principals who they listen to the same way as a male principal. It's in any type of situation. You get used to it. In the beginning, they'll chuckle and it'll be an issue as soon as she's hired. Oh, we have a woman coach. But after a couple of practices, it's going to be forgotten. She's just going to be the coach. Is she good enough to be the coach? I mean, is she the right hire? Forget about her being a woman.
I still disagree. I still disagree with that, Jack.
As do
Being
I.
a school teacher and comparing that to a school teacher, and you got a room full of men full of testosterone and ego.
Grown men too.
Grown, yeah. Even the ones that and immature. Some of them too.
A lot of these kids are soft, man. I think Dawn, if anything, she's probably tough to handle a whole bunch of women in the locker room because that's a lot. I mean, just forget the things you got to deal with on the basketball court. You have to deal with a lot of other things, the cattiness and everything else, and whatever comes with that. I think she's tough. I think she's tough enough to be able to handle this, and I think she would do. I think she would do well. I think she would do well in the next level in men's coach. I mean, in men's basketball. I just don't know if the situation is ideal to come in and take over and get them to the championship. And would she be the answer to get them over the hump and getting to the championship? I'm not sure about that just yet. But what I will say is that throwing Dawn's name in the mix tells me that plan A, B, and C for the Knicks was just pure unadulterated trash. There was nothing they had in plan to work out. Right.
They didn't have no plan.
They had no plan.
I will say, and Keith, I want to know about this because, I mean, I'm a lady, and sometimes I learn a lot from you guys in sports. I think the Knicks would have already been set up, but they were denied several people that they wanted to speak to. Like the teams did not allow. You got the Rockets that didn't allow. The Hawks didn't allow. Quinn Snyder, Udo Odoko, he couldn't. Billy Donovan, the Bulls denied him. I didn't, if all these good coaches, Jay Wright from Villanova, I mean, all these people, their current coaching folks have denied the permission of the Knicks to even speak with them. I mean, is this such a thing that they really can deny you the opportunity to?
Oh, after you're under
your contract.
Yeah, you're under contract. You can't speak unless you got permission.
Well, that's what messed the Knicks up. They had all these folks lined up, but the organizations that they wanted to, get these gentlemen from were like, nope. You're not talking to our guy.
I wouldn't have fired Tibbs for any one of those guys anyway. The only guy that I would have accepted was if Jay Wright would have taken, and was never going to do it. He's the only guy who would have taken a chance. And that goes against what I said about college coaches coming to the NBA too. But he's the only guy
interest
that I'd take a shot.
But that's what tells me that there's ineptitude in the brass or management. You didn't know that this was a possibility that you would get denied, and you had to know. And you fired this dude? Man, come on.
And your plan was based on an assumption that you were going to be able to get one of these coaches? That's a bad plan.
I expected better for the Knicks. They're a more established team than that. That's crazy.
Here's what I really think about this Dawn Staley thing to wrap it all up real quick, because I know you want to move on. But
you can hear me segueing. I got Jack in mind.
I think this is the Knicks have floated this because they want to they're about ready to hire Mike Brown or Trailer or somebody. And they want to make it look like we exhausted every single possibility. That's what I think is going on here.
All right. Well, good luck to your team up there. I still don't understand how Keith is in Massachusetts, right?
No,
Aren't you in Boston?
I'm in New York.
Okay, all right. I'll take it back then.
All
right, let's.
New York.
Jack, you had a final word?
Yeah, Keith is in upstate New York. He's not in the big time like New York City,
He moved you out of the city.
Jack, that doesn't mean
you a Connecticut team
either, by the way.
Suburbanite.
Oh, it's the opposite. It's the
We
fact
have
that
two
Keith
football
likes
teams that play in New Jersey.
Right. The Buffalo Bills in New York State, but no one
Yeah.
in New York City thinks they're theirs. No one wants to
It's the
know from
fact that
Buffalo
Keith likes
Bills.
the Patriots that threw me off. I'm always trying to
That's what
connect
throws
it
you
to
off.
Massachusetts.
Yes.
That's the upper state mentality right there.
It is.
That's a Massachusetts team, not a Boston team. Let's be clear.
Ooh, okay. Well, all right. Let's move along. We've given Dawn quite a bit of time today, and
She has more than the Knicks, probably.
Yeah, more than the Knicks. All right, let's talk about some MLB news. We got a lot of news to cover, so we got to move along here. MLB news. Of course, the big news is unfortunately Dave Parker, the Cobra, dies at age 74. He was going to be inducted, you guys, next month into the Baseball Hall of Fame. He passed away a couple of days ago or yesterday. Outfielder Dave Parker. This was a shocker, guys, because like I said, he was supposed to be inducted into the HOF next month. Jack, I know you keep up with a lot of the Hall of Famers in a lot of sports. What were your comments or your thoughts? I mean, of course, we're saddened by this. He didn't even make it in to be inducted.
Yeah, very sad. And he'd been in ill health for a while, but it's pretty sad. You know, right before he was to be inducted, the month before, you know, he passes away. At one point, Dave Parker was arguably the best player in Major League Baseball, but was he a slam dunk Hall of Famer? No, he wasn't a slam dunk Hall of Famer. He was something like a 7-time All-Star. He had a substance abuse issue at one point during his career, which I think held him back a little bit. But he was one of these borderline Hall of Famers who did eventually get in the Hall of Fame after a lot of years. And I'm not saying he didn't deserve to get in, because at one time he was, you know, really a phenomenal player. And he was on 2 championship teams, 10 years apart, with the Pittsburgh Pirates in the 1979, you know, We Are Family team. That was led by Willie Stargell in large part. And then he was more like a role player in 1989 with the Oakland Athletics when they won the championship. But tremendous player, one of the best arms in baseball, one of the best right fielders. Phenomenal arm. And, you know, even though he didn't replace Roberto Clemente immediately. And in a way he did, because they were on the same team for a little while, and he turned out to be the heir apparent, you know, to Roberto Clemente as the right fielder of the Pirates, even though there's only one Roberto Clemente. But, you know, outstanding player, Dave Parker. If he were playing today, he'd probably be, you know, I guess one of the top 5 players, you know, position players in Major League Baseball.
Easily.
You know, certainly one of the top 5 outfielders. I guess top 3, maybe, for sure.
Yeah, Keith, I heard you chiming in there easily, definitely. 1979 MVP.
6 times he finished in the top 10. 6 times he finished in the top 10 voting in the MVP. That's the type of thing that I look at when I'm looking at Hall of Fame worthy. Did you spend a time dominating, being one of the dominating players in the game? And Dave Parker definitely was when he was on top of his game, which was more often than not. It did get interrupted a little bit with the drug scandals, and he had and injuries, and he had a couple of bad years in the middle of his career. He finished 11th in the MVP voting that year. Jack mentioned in 1989, 10 years after he won it. So I think he belongs in it. People tend to, and I tend to do it sometimes too, look too much at the cumulative numbers, right? And say, well, you know, he hit 350 home runs or whatever it was. You got to look at the individual years and when did you dominate and who are your contemporaries. And he was a dominant player enough to be in the Hall of Fame for me.
Yeah, of course, the induction will be Sunday, July 27th, literally a month from today. Cooperstown, New York. I'm sure they still will be honoring him. That is, I can't even imagine. That's devastating to be so close. And like you guys said, he would have already been in, but we have this issue with when players have struggled with anything that can hold them back. Keith, I know you got to get out of here. We thank you so much for joining us. Hop over to Stream of Consciousness, guys, and join Keith. Keith, have a great one. We'll see you on tomorrow with Jack at the Jack and Keith and Max show and all you guys got going on 8 a.m.
You guys have a great day.
You too.
See you, Keith.
Too.
See you.
You too.
J Train, I saw you had a comment here.
No, I was just saying goodbye to Keith.
Goodbye.
All right.
I mean,
Thank you, everybody. See you later.
Trying to find my way out.
Yeah,
I got
I just want to say with any player you vote for the Hall of Fame, unless it's a slam dunk choice, I sometimes look at the play and say, are they all they could be? You know, did they do everything they could be? And if they had certain lows during their career, what fell all on them, it could have been a substance abuse problem, it could have been an attitude problem. It does affect the way I would vote and the way I would see him as a Hall of Fame. And like I said, I don't have a problem with Dave Parker getting in the Hall of Fame because now it's the Hall of the Very Good. And at his absolute best, he was great. He wasn't very good. I understand that. But you have a number of players in all the major sports who had a great peak 5 or 6 years. And what do we do with Don Mattingly? Don Mattingly was as good as any player for 6 years. Thurman Munson's life got cut short, you know, and the airplane crash. But he was one of the great players in Major League Baseball, you know, for the years he played. Sandy Koufax, acknowledged by a lot of people, or at least a lot of people feel maybe the greatest pitcher of all time at his peak. What did he have? Only about 5 great, phenomenal years. So, you know, it's all like what you like. I know with myself and J Train, we've gotten into the Terrell Owens debate. And I tell myself, was the guy all he could be? Did he truly help his team all he could? You know, and all those kind of factor in. And you could throw all the numbers at me that you want. But if the guy isn't truly helping his team, he could compile the greatest numbers. And what does it matter in a way?
I mean, now I got to interject. When we talk about Terrell Owens, this guy broke his leg in the season. They got to the Super Bowl in 2004. He was the best player on the field when he got back onto the field in the Super Bowl. After breaking his leg, he got back early. He wasn't supposed to play in the Super Bowl. He got back and played them. I'm not saying that he did all like if you just said all he could, he did. And now, mind you, there was some controversy with locker room division. Every team he's gone to, but every time he's been on the field, minus the shenanigans, the pom poms, and all this other stuff like that, he was a dominant player. And what you said, I agree with you about the peak time of a player. We talk about someone like Terrell Davis. During his reign, it's only 5 or 6 years. He was the best running back in the league. He was pure and utter dominance. And one of those Super Bowls was on his back. I mean, yes. So I would say yes. Someone who definitely deserved to be in the Super Bowl. His numbers, injuries derailed his career later on, and he obviously retired because they knew he couldn't be as good as he was. But it was enough to get him into the Hall of Fame. So yes, I agree that it's not only the length of and quantity or someone's career, but the quality, even if it's just in a short term. So I agree with you there, but not Terrell Owens, man. Come on.
Shannon Sharp is one who had like 7 great years. He finally made it in the Hall of Fame. He was arguably the best receiver in the game, arguably during his peak, but did he play long enough? But there are a lot of different factors involved. But just getting back to Terrell Owens, after they lost the Super Bowl, right after, he blamed the quarterback Donovan McNabb. And that just showed you the type of non-team guy he was. And the players said he destroyed the Eagle locker room. And that, in a way, that offsets anything you did on the field, you know, unless you won, unless you actually won.
Yeah, I agree. But anyway, like Rick said, at least he knew he did make it in. And so that's good to know that he at least knew he made it in. And so rest in peace, of course, thoughts and prayers to his family. 70 is still fairly young. So definitely thinking of them during this time. Let's move on. Looks like other MLB news. guys, unbelievably, well, not really unbelievably, I guess. We shouldn't really be surprised when Otani's name is mentioned in anything. He hit a fast pitch yesterday. He had his fastest pitch yesterday of his MLB career, 101.7 miles per hour in his third mound start for the Dodgers. Guys, that is extremely fast. That's like a car. And we talked about speed the other day. He talked about speed. This dude is literally, in my opinion, Hall of Famer caliber. I mean, despite everything, he's early on. He's putting up the numbers no matter where they put him. 101.7 miles per hour, and this is only his third start on the mound here, guys.
Yeah, he's
he's
phenomenal. I
pitching
didn't realize he
wild.
could throw quite that hard, 101 miles per hour.
Yeah,
I mean,
me
he's
neither.
phenomenal. It got me to thinking, what's harder to do if you have to pitch like Otani, or what Travis Hunter would do, play both ways during a game, offense and defense, Travis Hunter, as opposed to Otani pitching and then batting. I would think it would be harder for Travis Hunter because Otani would have a little more rest. But you're putting out more as a pitcher than you do as a football player, a lot more when you're pitching. I mean, as a receiver, you're sprinting. It takes a lot out of you. I understand. A defensive back, it takes a lot out of you mentally as much as physically. I get all that. But when you pitch, I mean, it takes a lot out of you mentally, too. You're thinking the whole time. You're throwing. You're hurting.
And Jack, he didn't even pitch. And he didn't even pitch last season. This dude had Tommy John surgery. That's what's so shocking about it. No one expected this from him. And he went 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts. Crazy. Now they did lose. Let's be clear. They lost 9-5, but still, I mean, this is outstanding. Maybe that surgery actually boosted him up. I don't know what they put in him, when they were doing it, but he's got a turbo arm right now.
Yeah, you know what I want to throw to everyone out there? You hear about these athletes who are fixtures with their team, and you want them to finish their career with their one team, but so much of the time they're much better off if they go elsewhere. Like you mentioned Otani, Sonja. Imagine he decided, now I'm going to be a Los Angeles Laker my whole career, a Los Angeles Angel my whole career, like Mike Trout. I'm not going to go anywhere. He wouldn't have gotten a championship with the Dodgers. I mean, think of Peyton Manning. Had he decided had he stayed with Indianapolis Colts, he wouldn't have gotten another championship. Had Tom Brady stayed with New England, he wouldn't have gotten that other championship with Tampa Bay. I mean, there's so many cases of these guys you think, stay put. The ultimate, I think, would have been LeBron James. Had he never left the Cleveland Cavaliers to begin with, I question whether he would have even had one championship, because they never would have been able to draft Kyrie Irving. He never would have had the pieces. He never would have gone to Miami. He would have been at the Lakers. I got to believe LeBron would have grabbed one title somewhere along the line before it was all over, but maybe not. And what would we be saying about him? What would other people be saying about, he's not a winner. How many rings does he have? That silly mentality about the rings. And LeBron brought that up recently. The thing about the rings, we're going to be judging guys. The circumstances got to be right a lot of the time.
What are your thoughts, Strilla?
Well, I don't know, Otani, I mean, it was good. Like you said, Tommy John surgery in 2018. Then last year he had some major elbow surgery. To throw 101.7 is pretty good for him and his circumstances. But as overall, I would say that I've seen pitchers out there this year throwing at 102 and 103. The pitchers nowadays are getting better as far as athletically, and they're just throwing the heck out of that ball. The other day against the Tigers, one guy threw like 103. He was out of the bullpen. He threw like 103.5. I was like, wow, can you even see those bitches coming at you?
The ball disappears. You don't even
Right,
see it.
But and as far as your comparison to Otani's batting and pitching to Travis Hunter playing, the difference between that is Otani might be pitching, but he's not getting hit while he's pitching. That's the difference. That's the reason why Travis Hunter's position, if he was to play both ways, which I don't see him doing too much of, they will do it, but it's going to be limited. But you take a lot of hits in football. It's a contact sport. Baseball is not a contact sport unless you're talking about bat to ball. That's about it.
Yeah, that's true. Some more baseball news. The Braves bounce back over the Phillies 6-1. I got to mention that because that's always the big thing. Cubs dominate the Astros. Kyle Tucker had a big game against his former Chicago Cubs, hammered the Houston Astros, and the Mets hold a players-only meeting. The New York Mets, Jack, held a players-only meeting following their latest loss to the Pittsburgh Pirates. This looks like for them to have a players-only meeting. Do you think that they may be talking about, who should be their manager going forward? I mean, what are your thoughts on that? Did you know they had this meeting?
No, I mean, they had to tell the managers and coaches we want to have a players-only meeting, and a manager and coaches aren't going to tell the players not to have it, especially when the team is going poorly. The Mets only a half game out of first place. I mean, they've been dreadful against the Pittsburgh Pirates, the last couple of days. And the Pirates are one of the worst teams in baseball.
Yeah, they are.
And, they're in a slump, they're undergoing a bad time. Baseball is such a selfish game. You don't have to have the chemistry you have in like basketball and hockey, because everyone who bats wants to get on base. So whoever the batter is for your team is going to be trying. Whoever the pitcher is for your team is going to be trying to get batters out. I understand the little extra effort you need on the base paths, diving for a ball. That comes into the equation. But baseball is such a selfish game in that sense. You don't have to have the team chemistry that you have in other sports. And it's okay. Let them call a players meeting, but I don't see the point to panic right now. But if it helps them, fine. But you better respond when you call the players meeting. You better bounce back. Because if you call a players meeting and you lose 13-2 the next game, that destroys the value of the players meeting.
Yeah, I do want to plug in like 2 golf news. Then I want to plug in an NHL moment where I'm going to have Bistrilla give us a little bit of plug because the NHL draft is going on right now. The U.S. Senior Open, there's a tie with Pedrick. Harrington's chip in on the 18th hole left him tied with Richard Hensby and Stuart Sink at the U.S. Senior Open. And in the Rocket Classic lead, Aldrich Parkgeiger, the PGA Tour's youngest and biggest hitter, holds a 2-stroke lead at the moment at the Rocket Classic. Now, moving over to the NHL moment, the Reds, you guys, everybody's talking about the NHL draft. That was, of course, big thing, of course, going along the same time as tomorrow will be the NBA's trade thingamajiggy going on, like wrapping up their draft and solidifying the last of those contracts. The Red Wings acquired John Gibson. The Detroit Wings, that's Strilla's squad up there, acquired goalie John Gibson from the Anaheim Ducks. That should be a big acquisition there. And the highest drafted Chinese player, Simon Wang, became the highest drafted player born in China, going number 33 overall to San Jose Sharks in the draft, Strilla.
Yep. You'd be catching me off guard.
What are your thoughts about the Wings? Thing. How about that? That's your squad.
I mean, Gibson is better than Merzak. I mean, Merzak is not a great goalie at all. That's the reason why we traded for him. I mean, but Gibson is okay. The way that they're focusing really on the team is they have like a 3 goalie rotation basically, but they use like 2 of them during the season to rotate. So we'll see how that works. The whole thing about the Red Wings right now is consistency. we're way past the time where changes are supposed to take effect, and we're supposed to win get in the playoffs and be competitive. Eisenman's on the cusp right now of getting fired. He needs to do something this season or he's gone, because he was supposed to set in, he did this for Tampa Bay, and Tampa Bay was good. But other than that, I mean, and that's pretty cool about the Chinese guy that is playing. That isn't he like one of the first Asian person or Chinese person to play in the NHL? That's pretty cool.
Yeah, he is pretty good. Number 33 overall. Yeah, Jack?
Yeah, and that's why when you get a certain player like a Chinese player playing in the NHL, he's going to be a big box office attraction because it's different, okay, from what we're accustomed to. The same way Ohtani in baseball, the same way in a sense Caitlin Clark being a star, in the WNBA. It's just, the way it is. And I'm even interested, a player from China playing in the NHL. It's just something very different.
Yeah, definitely so. So, yep, good luck to those folks going in there. And, of course, congratulations to Candace Parker. She has getting both 2 jerseys retired this weekend. Of course, WNBA there. Now, let's switch over the last few minutes we have here to some NFL news. Stetson Bennett competing for that quarterback starting role. Back at it again, going against UT Martin's quarterback Dresser Wynn. That they're competing for the third string guys. I don't even know if that's worth a competition at this point.
Stetson Bennett, what team is he on again?
What you say, Jack?
Stetson Bennett. I mean,
Rams.
Right, I know they drafted him the year before last, and nothing came of it.
Yeah.
So, what the intriguing thing is, everyone? Like, if they put one of these guys on the practice squad, any other team could pick them up. You can't protect them, and you have a number of guys that it's going to be interesting. That might solve the Browns' dilemma with Shedeur Sanders. They don't want to outright cut him. So they might put him on the practice squad. Could you imagine they put Shedeur Sanders on the practice squad and no one picks him up, which is a possibility? What kind of news would that be? Imagine that anyone could pick him up and no one picks him up. I have a feeling that might play out, actually.
That's not good.
Jake, you said he was going to fall past New Orleans at number 9 overall. Come on, before the draft originally. So you can't tell me it's not going to happen. You can't say with absolute confidence it's not going to happen.
I'm telling you, if the owner elected to pick this kid up, there's no way he's getting put on the practice squad. There's no way. That don't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
Of course,
he has the highest selling jersey of all the rookies. That don't make sense. That don't even make sense.
But think of the numbers. Someone has to go, and if Kenny Pickett is going to start the season, they're not cutting Dylan Gabriel.
First of all,
Kenny Pickett's not starting.
Pickett is not starting the season. Joe Flacco's got that down right now.
Okay, so Joe Flacco has it. If they keep Kenny Pickett, and he's getting the most reps right now, maybe they'll carry 3 quarterbacks on their active roster so they don't have to cut. And if Shedeur's one of them, someone has to go. It's not going to be Dylan Gabriel, who was drafted 2 spots ahead of him. And
I'm not so sure about that.
Pickett's got to go.
I'm not so sure about that. The president will veto whatever it is he wants to do. I'm telling you, that kid, especially the way he's played, even though I know I can hear Bistrella saying it's only OTAs. It's only I can hear him saying it. But yes, it's definitely just only OTAs. But when they had people talking like, hey, I have to apologize. I look at his numbers throwing the ball. He's always thrown like that with poor offensive line play. We're gonna see. I'm gonna stay quiet.
Well,
I want to see.
It's on the same level as JJ McCarthy. I mean, oh my God, the Minnesota fans are just going bonkers because he's thrown. It's OTAs, man. Calm down. They're in pajamas right now. Okay, don't think about it. But as far as the Cleveland situation goes, I think Pickett is going to be the odd man out because first of all, the owner wanted Shador, but the coach wanted Gabriel, so they're going to have a happy medium with that. So both those quarterbacks will stay. Pickett's the odd man out. Sorry, I don't even know why he traded for that guy, but whatever.
Well, we are 10 weeks out from starting the season. It's literally right around the corner. Like we are in our final month, honestly, of all the practices and stuff. The preseason will be here the first week of August. And so it's literally here before you know it. And speaking of that, Aaron Rodgers, Jack, has actually said he's pretty sure this is going to be his last season in the NFL. Like, as they say, the verdict is out on this one, because if he's saying that, he's talked about having 2 injury-marred seasons with your Jets. I mean, they were so bad, they got him injured up there. And he's basically happy to have this 1-year deal with Pittsburgh. That's why he said he would probably play for any amount. He's going to be 42 this year, and he's just probably come to the realization he is not Thomas Fitzpatrick Brady.
So you can't resist Sonja digging at my favorite player, Aaron Rodgers. I was gonna give you a dig at the beginning of the show when you was gonna say, "Well, I'll come on when I can because of all the obligations." I was gonna say, "Oh, so you're gonna be the Aaron Rodgers of this network."
I guess I will be.
I resisted saying that, and now you can't help it. But with Aaron Rodgers, I don't think, I hate to say it, I don't like to steal a team. I don't think he's going to be the quarterback by the end of the year. I mean, and if he is, they're going to move on from him. Bigger question is whether Coach Tomlin is going to be back next year. That's a bigger question than Aaron Rodgers. Rodgers is saying this is his last year. He's pretty sure. Then why is Pittsburgh getting him? Are they putting all their marbles in 1 year? They're probably thinking if he has a good year, he'll come back again. We just take what Aaron says with a grain of salt. I know something about the Steelers. They're kind of dysfunctional. They're looking for another receiver now. They need another weapon. I mean, who's really out there? You're going to think of OBJ, but he's long in the tooth.
I really hate that.
I don't buy any of that stuff anyway. Aaron Rodgers is there because Tomlin has a replacement for Ben Roethlisberger. That's basically what that is, a replacement, because they can't draft a quarterback to save their life right now. And I bet you what they're banking on is that when Aaron Rodgers plays this season out, and he'll be as long as he focuses on football, he should be fine for Pittsburgh. And to get another receiver is ludicrous because they're already paid Metcalf. They traded another receiver. I mean, and they still got a couple of receivers on the docket. Aaron Rodgers doesn't need all that help. He's got enough right there in front of him. So, and he's presented that fact many times before in Green Bay. No problems. I think the problem is, and Tomlin's not going nowhere. Tomlin has to do something egregious to get fired. Okay, and he's got to do something to get caught with some youngster in a stall somewhere. It's got to be egregious. He can't be. He's not going to get fired. Even if he has a losing season, he's not going to get fired. Aaron Rodgers is his safety valve because he has incredibly bad taste in getting offensive. He's a defensive-minded guy. He's never been an offensive-minded guy. He's always had some offensive coordinator or quarterback there that gets him away from the offense, so he doesn't have to worry about the offense. That's what Aaron Rodgers is.
And don't be surprised if they heavily depend on their run game. I'm really a fan. I don't think anybody's been talking about this at all, of the kid who was in third rounder out of Iowa, Caleb Johnson. If you go and look at some of his highlights, I'll be honest with you, he reminds me of Le'Veon Bell. He has that patience as a runner, and he's excellent with outside zone and inside zone. So I think that they drafted him for that reason. And clearly they're going to depend more on him. They're going to depend more on the running game and the other running back that's already there to spell Aaron Rodgers and save him a whole bunch of having to throw the ball multiple times. He won't have to do that. they're gonna definitely depend on their run. And I wouldn't be surprised if they win the squeaker games, close games like Denver did last year.
Yeah, as
So
long as their offensive line is fine. I mean, last year they had a lot of injuries on their offensive line that hampered them a lot. So, I mean, they got another rookie. They got two other ones that didn't even play last year. Well, they got one other one that didn't play last year because of a broken ankle or something like that happened to him. So they'll be all starting. So we'll see how that offensive line holds up. If their offensive line holds up, Pittsburgh will be fine.
I think the big issue is the T.J. Watt contract. An interesting thing, Aaron Rodgers isn't taking franchise quarterback money. He's taking low money to be the starting quarterback. And whoever's the quarterback next year, if it's not Aaron Rodgers, is going to be taking low money. They're not going to get one of these high-profile free agents. So they can pay T.J. Watt close to franchise quarterback money, for position player, who anchors their defense, of course. So that's going to be interesting how it plays out. And you don't want to go crazy on these contracts because you don't know what the play is going to be at the end of it, with the cap at all. So I think the two contract issues that are going to dominate the offseason are T.J. Watt and the Micah Parsons thing. Because it's Jerry Jones, that's going to be high profile. And I think with Trey Hendrickson, there might be a compromise at some point, but I don't think, that's going to play out the same way because the Bengals aren't going to budge. Eventually, I think the Cowboys budge, the Steelers budge, but I think that's going to be dominating the news, during summer camp.
As much as I talk about Aaron Rodgers in a bad way, I really do hope that the caliber of player he is, whatever way he chooses to go out, I hope it's on a high note. I hope it's not him just fading into the darkness because he has contributed a lot to this game, and he is still very well Hall of Famer caliber. Striller, I'm sorry, you were going to say something?
I'm just saying, I think what the Cowboys and the Steelers are doing is seeing which one is going to pay which one of their athletes first, because that's how the market's going to get set. So if T.J. Watt gets paid first, then they can set the market on Micah. If Micah gets paid, then T.J. Watt will get paid. It's going to be – this is funny. It's like a race to see who's going to get paid first.
Yeah, let's –
well, either one, I'm just going to tell you, after what Myles Garrett got, they got to top that. So it's a lot of money. Let's just put it that way.
We got about 2 minutes left here. I want to pose one last question to you guys. Of course, Justin Tucker, the former Baltimore Ravens field goal kicker, has been alleviated by the Ravens. However, the NFL also imposed a 10-week suspension with him being eligible to be reinstated after November 11th, 11/11. For the inappropriate relationships or sexual behaviors, I should say, with massage therapists. Should a team actually grab him? I mean, he has actually been the highest
no pun intended
percentage, 89.1% out of 100 attempts, one of the longest field goals. He's set records as a field goal kicker. I guess, saying grabbing might not be the right terminology, guys. But should someone try to sign him after his suspension is up? Should he be allowed to come back to the league?
Yeah, go to Cleveland.
Well, very quickly, he had a bad year last year, and if he was a Justin Tucker we knew, who was phenomenal, I gotta believe someone would try to sign him. I get the feeling they're not going to want the baggage because it's not worth it. He's not
especially that for a kicker.
He was, so yeah.
Well, he had the highest percentage field goals. He was ranked pretty high, 89% in the league, which is pretty up there. I mean, the only other person I know that was pretty high like that a while back was Graham Gano when he was with the Panthers. He had like a 93%. And field goal kickers are the game changers in a lot of instances, especially with these people running down the clock and all that stuff we see, these game managers. But it would be interesting to see who actually would take him. I don't think his time is done in the league. Of course, like I said, if they gave Deshaun Watson an opportunity, unless, something goes way to the left, I don't think we've seen the last of Justin Tucker. Guys, it's been a pleasure standing with you guys today, as always. Everyone have an amazing Sunday. I will be by as I can get by. Jack, J Train, Bistrilla. Bistrilla has a show today, the 1A Cheek 3 Toes at 4 p.m. Join us here live for that. And with that, we bid everybody a good day. And happy birthday, Bistrilla.